everyone, and welcome to Let's Just Do This, the podcast and TV show. I'm Margaret Wallis-Duffy, and I'm here with this awesome guy, my co-host, Mr. Todd Miller.
Good morning. Wearing the official Let's Just Do This colors.
I see that. And you know, today is a really exciting day. I mean, then again, every day in studio, doing what we love to do, sharing the passion we have for holistic health is a good one. However, today is especially near and dear to my heart because I have the opportunity to introduce someone who I've been following for a very long time. Our worlds have crossed many times. In fact, at one of the Women of Influence events through Good Life Can Fit Pro, I gifted this beautiful woman across from me a WOW bracelet, spreading random acts of wellness. And today, she is on the show. So without further ado, I cannot wait to introduce someone who you're all going to recognize and who I admire greatly, the beautiful Miss Tosca Reno. So welcome to the show.
It is such a pleasure to be here with all of you and those who are listening. Thank you for that joy.
You betcha. So I think before we get started, most people are going to know who you are, but your bio is impressive, and we could go on for the next half hour about all of your accomplishments. But I would like to read the bio that you gave because I really think it's important to set the stage for the passion and knowledge and experience that you have.
Thank you.
Although this is just a snippet of what this amazing woman's all about. So Tosca is a New York Best Time selling author, founder of the Eat Clean Diet Health Revolution. She's a health and wellness expert, a transformation coach, and a motivational speaker. Star of a Gemini Award-winning reality TV show, a physique competitor, and a mother of four, and by the way, an amazing grandma too. She started her career at an age when most would consider retiring, earning her first Oxygen cover at 43. Bravo. After losing 84 pounds and healing herself. You'll all know about the Eat Clean movement. I've bought many of your cookbooks,
Thank you.
And it's sold millions of copies worldwide in many different languages.
That's true.
You've helped millions lose weight, and you know what? It really is a pleasure to have you here to get real on Let's Just Do This about what you care about most, which is helping people live well.
Well, I think we're in good company. We all want to make that happen for everyone, and we know we can.
You betcha.
Yeah.
As we always say, don't we, Todd? We're better together. So
Better
let's
together.
get this conversation started. You know, one of the things that matters most about what we do is to really put things into action. We make things happen. And so it can be really daunting when you are faced with poor health.
Yeah.
Both you and I have our own stories that
Yes,
have
we do.
ignited why we do what we do.
That's right.
So if someone's sitting at home listening to this or watching this, and they're struggling. They're struggling with their health mentally and physically. Can you speak to some of the top things, the top 3 things with this whole Eat Clean movement and living well?
Yeah.
Coming from you.
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is accept that we're in that place and say just acknowledge, okay, this where I am right now is not good. That's what happened to me. I had an aha moment. I was 85 pounds overweight, couldn't climb up the stairs, couldn't say goodnight to my kids, heart slamming against my chest. Okay, this is not good. Got to change it.
Right.
Didn't know how I was going to change it, but accepted the fact that I had to. The second thing that I did was I got active, meaning I put my desire into action. If I had just sat on my thought, it would have gone nowhere. But when I took myself, put my running shoes on, went to the gym, even though I didn't know what I was doing, and took action with that desire, then that made it believable. And then you begin to question what it is you're putting in your mouth. Because I don't solve weight problems through diet. I solve weight problems through solving nutrition problems.
Right.
And unfortunately, most of us are laboring under poor nutrition advice because it's not abundant, it's confusing, it's chaotic. And we think when we go to the grocery store, that's food. And yes, that is food. But I make a distinction. How do we want to eat today to nourish ourselves? And what I want is nourishment. I don't just want food, because food just fills my stomach. But what I want to do is I want to nourish my cells. So changing the way we think about what goes in our mouth.
You know what? That is so powerful, and you're absolutely right. I mean, Hippocrates said it best. let food be thy medicine and medicine thy food. And it is
Yeah.
so important. Yet you're right, when you're saying that you're sitting on that couch and you didn't know where to begin,
Yeah.
the magic happens in actually just starting
Yeah.
to do. I'm sure I love Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule, right?
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go.
Just do it.
Yep.
Just do it. Because if we stop to think about it, it's paralyzing and we sit in fear and
Yep.
not do. So when we talk about that, it can be really overwhelming still. Can you speak a little bit to the emotion behind our decisions and the food that we're eating? Because I think, for all of us, they're not alone when
No.
it comes to even you, this person that everyone would look up to that has changed her life. Emotion comes into everything and every decision we make.
Everything.
How do you deal with that with people?
Well, first I acknowledge that I am an emotional being, and the body is simply a home for the language of emotion. Our cells use language as their emotional speak.
Yes.
So I acknowledge strongly that in our minds, what we believe is so. So I'm careful what I say to myself, because I know that if I say, and we do this, so pardon my F word, but I'm fat.
Yes.
That's the right F word to say,
Yes,
right?
it is indeed. On this program,
Almost
we got
had you. We're accusing ourselves of something, even though we say it to ourselves timeless times per day. You wouldn't say that even to a person you didn't like and didn't know. So imagine the conversation you're having. What beliefs are you setting into place? Because, as Bruce Lipton said in Biology of Belief, whatever you believe will be so.
Absolutely.
So that's why I don't say a judgment, I don't make a call. I say, you know what? Your wellness lives on a continuum. Imagine yourself somewhere. At the one end is illness. At the other end is wellness. And you're just somewhere in the middle there. And life has given you some hits. And sometimes you're closer to wellness and sometimes you're further from wellness. Give yourself permission to be okay with wherever you are right now, and then take action. Set the desire and follow the desire.
Oh, the Biology of Belief.
Massive, great book.
It is indeed. And we'll put that in the show notes, because I think people need to be able to reference that. It is powerful. And as a therapist myself, I know the manifestation physically that our emotions have on that self-talk. As a mom of a teenage daughter, Carly and I have this discussion every day about being kind in terms of what we talk about. Yeah. But you're absolutely right in saying, and I don't think the average person really recognizes, that our cells change when we talk about that.
The biochemistry within ourselves.
Absolutely.
It's just shocking. And not only with what we think, but with what we eat. For example, people say, oh yes, we need to eat turmeric, but do we know why? And the reason why you eat turmeric is because it changes your genetic expression. It actually overrides what's going on with your genes, and it can affect and enhance the function of 2,500 of your genes.
Wow.
Just like a light, flip them on and suddenly, everything comes to life. So you don't have to accept your fate. You can harness the power of these amazing foods, the amazing power of your brain, of water, of exercise, to override whatever you think your fate may be and become a greater, more beautiful, higher expression of yourself.
Absolutely.
While we were talking about emotions, I was processing that, and I'm thinking, what was Tosca's aha moment when she was, maybe not calling herself fat, maybe she was, but what was your aha moment? What was the moment that said, okay, I have to get past this? Because I know a lot of people never go past that moment. They live and they're comfortable where they are.
I'm very familiar with that moment because I can call it up inside of me, and I still use that on a daily basis to initiate or ignite my reason. And I was living in a Victorian home, and the steps are really small, and there's many of them. There had to be 30 steps, and I wanted to go from my lower level to say goodnight to my daughters who are all sleeping upstairs. I collapsed halfway up. I couldn't make it up the stairs. And I remember sweat pouring off of me and falling against the wall for support and feeling my chest slamming so hard. My heart was pounding. I thought it was going to fall out of my chest. And I sat down and I went, that is
enough.
It.
Yeah.
If I am not well enough to take care of my own children, that is my reason for the rest of my life. I am going to do better. And that was my moment. And everyone will have a different one. My aha is not going to be the same as yours or yours, but find one.
And you know what? That is powerful. And would you agree when we talk about this continuum and being kind to ourselves, you're going to have 2 or 3 of those aha moments at different times in our lives, right?
They will happen.
When challenges come,
They will
when
happen.
curveballs are thrown
Yep.
in life, we need to. And I love the fact that you use that story to ignite action in you day to day.
In myself and in others, because I share the story. I'm not perfect. I don't want to be. I'm just like everybody else, trying and trying hard. And I love what David Hawkins says, you need to care how you feel. And we need to be more caring with ourselves. Care how you feel. If you're in an environment where the food is not acceptable to you, care how you feel.
Yeah.
Don't eat it.
Yeah.
Drink the water. Do something different. But vote with your emotions. Feel how you feel when you're in a certain environment and change that.
You know, when I do a lot of speaking, I just last week for a corporation and talking about this, I show an image of the 3 monkeys with something over their hands, their ears, right? And often that's the way people live in life. We don't listen to our bodies. No. And I think out of fear, we were having a discussion in the green room about that, about fear, because if I listen, then what? Because I don't
then it means I have to do something.
Exactly.
Yes.
What's next?
Yes.
But knowing, and no better time than now, the access to information and shows like this and your movement with Eat Clean, where you can find your tribe to help you actually take your hands off your eyes and your ears and to go within. And to link yourself to make a dream team with your healthcare professionals, because that's important to have the team that actually wants you to think integratively about what is going on in your body without doing it with fear.
And I think a really important way to approach how we go forward in wellness, and how we just do this is to think about the components of wellness. Yes. And according to the World Health Organization, wellness is not the absence of disease. It's the presence of your practice with regard to eating clean, exercise, and emotional caretaking. And these, for many of us, these aspects are missing, or we're heavily skewed towards exercise alone and don't understand that nutrition accounts for 80% of how your body shows up every day, heart, mind, and soul. We know that we have to exercise and we know we have to eat clean, but we don't care how we feel. So we stuff it all back in our shirts. We don't meditate, we don't process, we don't journal. So I have bound those 3 components into my wellness approach when I'm coaching now, because they have saved my life. All those aspects I practice. I'm a product of my product.
Yes, yes.
They have saved my life.
Oh, that is, I can so relate, and you're so right. So many people, and I'm sure you've heard this as well from the people that you coach, that I coach will say, Margaret, I feel like I woke up.
Yeah. Switched on.
Switched on.
Yeah.
And, it's wonderful, but at the same time, that saddens me and fuels me more to make more people realize, like you said, to make choices to actually be alive and to pay attention to the way we're feeling.
Yeah.
That it's not okay to just be feeling the way we are and to be walking through life in this numbness that
and
we
reach
seem
them
to do.
earlier so they have more quality of life for a longer period of time.
Yeah, and I think that's why it can be so intimidating to go to a gym for most people, because many do not feel well enough to even consider going. So something has to happen in their head-heart space first. And that's the part where you sit down with yourself 10 minutes a day and you meditate, or you journal, you practice gratitude, forgiveness.
Yes.
I have been bound in anger in the last few years for so many things that have happened to me. Losing my son, losing my husband, losing my business, losing my family income, losing the life that I knew, losing the man I loved. And I really was so stuck. I was so angry. And I know that I could have just, gone into the closet and with my vodka bottle and had fun with that. But I wanted something better. I wanted to leave a legacy for my children and for all the people that trust me, that I have helped, the millions. My books are in German, Italian, in English, in Spanish. And I had to do better. I wanted to do better. And so I could do the exercise and I could do the eating clean. I had that down pat. I had that down pat, but what I did not have was my emotional wellness. So I have been working on that practice. And now I can't face a day unless I meditate and unless I journal, and that is my jam.
Thank you for being so authentic. We're going to take a break here for a quick second, but your authenticity is powerful, and we can't wait after the break to talk a little bit more about Eat Clean and striking sugar. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Let's Just Do This. I'm Todd Miller, along with Margaret Wallis-Duffy and our fantastic guest today, Tosca Reno. I wanted to talk to you about something I've been flirting with over the past, I'd say year, and that's meditation and mindfulness. And you mentioned that before. That's something that when I do it successfully, my world just opens up. There's such a direct connection to being present at any particular moment.
That's right.
Can you speak to what that did for you and how it can be applied?
So I was dealing with what I would call my dark chapter, with just insurmountable losses, which I found incredibly difficult. And I had a friend who just kept inviting me to meditation. The first class I went to, I hated it. I wanted to just run away. It took me probably a year to get comfortable with meditating. The guided meditations were amazing. When I turned off monkey brain, and allowed myself to feel once again, it was both scary and exhilarating. Because, as we know, we stuff a lot back inside. So when you start meditating and you open up, you gotta hold on tight.
Exactly. Put your seatbelt on.
Yeah. So you gotta be ready for that. But I finally just said, you know what? My white knuckle grip on the universe is not helping me. I need to let go, and I'm gonna soar. Wherever this takes me, I'm going. Because it wasn't working before, so it's going to work now. And it has opened up such an amazing new way of living life. One of the main things is I used to be a reactionary. I used to just everything, And I learned from reading things like The Power of the Kabbalah and David Hawkins and the rest that my power doesn't come from aggression and anger. It comes from the quietness. It comes from sitting back and recognizing you have a choice, being in the moment, being present. And some of the greatest lessons about living life I've learned from the gym, believe it or not, where I have learned to be mindful with my training so that when I'm actually doing a bicep curl, me and my bicep are both
Connected.
present.
Yeah.
Right. So we need to do the same with our brain. We need to project or encourage mindfulness by practicing the skill, and the brain gets stronger. And we change our biochemistry. In 10 minutes of meditating, we completely change our biochemistry and raise our vibrational energy. And then, like you said, you're so right, the good stuff flows.
Yeah, and we all, have heard about this thing called neuroplasticity. We can train our brain. And one of the things we were talking about in the break, it's never too late.
Gosh,
it doesn't matter. Right?
I mean, in the fitness industry, think about it. It was considered ridiculous almost that someone at 43 was stepping on stage for the first time to compete.
Yes.
In bodybuilding. That's where I started. Even for me, it was ridiculous, but I just thought, you know what, hey, I'm in for the ride. So I allowed them to glue on my little bikini with the surgical glue, and I put my stripper shoes on, and away I went.
You rocked it.
Oh, my God. And it's just been an incredible unveiling of who my true self really is. Was I so committed to winning? No, but I was committed to the journey, and that was the joy.
And that is the win.
That's the win.
Whether you win on a stage, getting started and doing
Moving,
things for yourself.
doing
Moving.
it.
Exactly.
Oh, well, Dr. John Ratty in that book, Spark, where you can change your biochemistry within yourself, change the brain, the composition of the brain by exercising 30 minutes a day, 5 to 6 days a week at a max heart rate of 65% or greater. That book, that's your science to get moving.
Yes.
And it's more effective than Prozac.
You bet. Now, just before we finish off on mindfulness, because we want to talk about other practical tips, because here on Let's Just Do This, we're about action. We're about making things happen, so we want to get more from you. But my monkey brain, I need guided meditations because I'll tell you, they call it the practice of meditation for a reason.
It
is work.
Yeah.
I've got to give a shout out, and we're excited because we're going to have a friend and someone who I have great respect for, and I know you do too, Angela Cognan, who does guided meditations, her everyday meditations and Symphony of the Minds, for me, game changer.
And her voice.
Her voice.
Her voice takes you away out of your head. So-
Angela, you were with me last night and have been almost every night for the last few months. Because
Well, that's good, because there
there's
have been some
challenges.
guided meditations that I've done that I want to turn off.
Yeah,
because
no,
the person's
not
voice
Angela.
is not helping.
No, you got to check it out.
I like Andy the Monk too.
Yes.
From Headspace.
Yes. Yeah, actually, Headspace is a
good.
great
Yeah,
option.
it's
Wonderful
a good
app.
beginning tool, I think.
It is
Yeah.
indeed.
Yeah.
So let's talk about some practical tips, because our listeners and viewers really now, I know, are excited and they want to do something. So if I know what you're going to tell me, but
Yes.
what is one of the main things that they could do to have the biggest impact on their health?
Oh my goodness. All right. I begin all of my transformational coaching work with my clients, with those who are interested, by doing this most important step. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Excuse me, but it is also will yield the most results, and that is strike sugar.
Yeah.
I think Todd knows a little bit about that.
Oh, we're outing me here, are we? Yes. No, I did. The first time I interviewed you, you made such an impression that I went out and got strike sugar, and it opened my eyes to not only the obvious sources of sugar, like how many teaspoons I was putting in my coffee, but all of the hidden sugars.
It's what's seducing
crazy.
us that we don't even know about. Yeah.
It is worse than narcotics.
Yes. Well, I think it's right up there with narcotics, to be honest. Now, I haven't done any narcotics, but I was a sugar addict. I know in my former life. I was feeling numb. I didn't care how I felt. I felt purposeless. I was depressed. I had anxiety. I have a theory. If I was going to do a PhD project, my theory is this: I would go to the prisons, to the new intakes of inmates, and I would look at their diet in depth. And 100% I'm going to find that their diet is poor, that they're not getting nutrients. They're just getting calories from sugar, refined foods, and they're basically numbing their brains and switching off their potential right there. So that's where I begin.
And we know that sugar causes inflammation in the body. We know that inflammation is the root
The beginning of
most
disease. And
right?
now we know that science, just in the Lancet this morning, this is groundbreaking, is saying that sugar is now directly, we knew this, but we have the science to prove it, that sugar is directly linked to cancer and is actually the initiator that switches on cancer cell growth, fermenting in that body of ours.
Not just feeds cancer, but actually switches
It on. And then people say, well, I want the fake sugars. Let me have the alternatives. And I say, no, because in our it might just trick our mind, but it's still engaging and initiating the blood sugar response in the body. It has to. That's what the pancreas is there for. That's what the liver is there for. That's what the adrenals are there for. We don't want to use them for processing sugar, but more and more we do.
Well, and the realities even of the alternatives. There's something called chemicals that
Something
our body
called chemicals, right.
doesn't react to well,
And when
it's
we're-
everywhere.
When we're switched off, we can't zone in and be mindful of the signals that our bodies are giving us. For example, I have a friend who has now bowel cancer, but for 2 years she was constipated. She was ignoring obvious signs and putting herself at peril, and now has cancer. And bowel cancer is one of the easiest ones to fix if you catch it. But sugar numbs us. It the same way that alcohol makes you, kind of like
Fuzzy
goofy and
and,
fuzzy and
yeah.
things don't work quite so well. That's what happens when we eat sugar. It's the same thing. It's like throwing a blanket on a light.
Indeed. So
So Strike Sugar, follow
Yeah.
my Strike Sugar program. You can do that on toscareno.com. And this is also the easiest thing you'll ever do and the hardest. Drink more water.
oh, absolutely.
Water is the number one nutritional deficiency in North America, followed closely by mineral. We are mineral deficient. Our forefathers, just as little as 100 years ago, had at least 4 times more minerals in their diet than we do, if not more. They also had more fats. So what's happening is we're drinking water that doesn't serve us, and we're not drinking enough of it.
Yes, indeed.
Now, contrast that to the experience when you go down. I had the privilege of going down to Nicoya in the Blue Zone, where people regularly live to be over 100 years old. What's the number one reason? The water is mineral rich, and they're drinking plenty of it.
So it is always, I love this topic because, people will say, well, I don't need to supplement. I eat well, I cook from scratch. And sadly, the reality is in our food supply chain, and when we're talking about our environment,
Yeah.
the reality is, unfortunately, we do need to supplement and take a look at what we're putting in our bodies, because we simply can't get enough.
It's all, yes, we're living in a compromised state.
We really are.
Yeah.
And that's not being fear-mongering. You
No,
know, I always,
it's just
but
right
it's the
now, it's the
reality.
truth.
It's the reality.
I believe that there was some news out this morning stating that pollution is now the #1 cause of deaths worldwide.
Yeah.
And most of it due to poor air quality.
Yes.
So we do have to supplement. We have to do it wisely,
Yes.
though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Not just
Yep.
a handful of supplements.
No, we have to look at the supplement we're putting in our mouth, and we have to look with minerals, for example. The body is just so finely tuned. And Hippocrates also said, we possess within us the entire pharmacy to heal if we could only harness it. So taking a mouthful, a mouthful of calcium does not help us if we're not taking it with its partner, magnesium.
Right.
And we also need to have the right cofactors in place to absorb those minerals. You need the right fats. You need a neutral pH in your blood. You need other vitamins present. You need proper digestion and elimination. And you need hydration. So there's so many factors in place. And that's why I think working with someone like yourself or your clinic specialist who can help put us in the know. I advocate naturopaths all the time. I have a
Yes.
daughter, Dr. Rachel Cordetti Sargent, who's in Liberty Village, and her #1 thing is starting just nutrition and digestion. Get things moving.
Well, the gut-brain connection, right? Our
Yeah.
gut is our second brain,
We've
and
ignored it.
We do ignore it. And you're so right. I mean, we've got 2 naturopaths at Wallis for Wellness. We've had them on the show,
Yep.
but Wallis for Wellness and Wow New Media, and this show is about linking arms with all
Everybody
professionals.
together.
Exactly.
Everybody
We're
together.
better together. And you're so right. I think it becomes overwhelming and actually a little scary when we talk about all the science. That's not to paralyze people,
No.
but to empower them to simply link arms with others
Yeah.
that want to help elevate them up. Because, you know, we both know that we're the sum of the 5 people that we hang the
Yes.
most with, right?
Yes.
And so if you're hanging with people that are feeling unwell all the time and are negative, and
It's going to have an effect.
it's going to have an effect on
Yeah.
us.
Yep.
It's so important. You know, we need to have you back because this is
We
just
didn't
the tip
cover
of the
the half
iceberg.
of it.
We haven't
This
covered
is
the
so
half.
fascinating.
It is indeed. It is
Yeah.
indeed. You and I were just talking about, you know, really feeling like we haven't even yet reached our potential, and we're kind of challenging one another to do something together to inspire other women.
It's happening
our
right
age.
here.
It's happening right now.
Which is awesome because that gives all the women that are coming up with us so
Permission.
much, yes, and hope
Yes.
and guidance.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, I can't stop.
Yes. So
You can come too, Todd.
Yeah, you're allowed to. I mean,
Thank you.
You're always
As always, I'm the
welcome.
only guy there.
Before we wrap up, let's tell people how we can, you know, find your wonderful resources and help connect with you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. So you can get to me at toscareno.com. I always answer my own emails. I have Instagram, Tosca Reno. You can find me. Pinterest, also Tosca Reno. Pretty easy. All my handles are the same. And I welcome questions and I welcome interaction with the people that I serve because every day I wake up and I say, how can I serve to the highest and best? And I know I can serve helping others become well through making nutritional change.
Fabulous. So before we go, we always ask a question of every guest that it's a bit of a curveball. but
Okay.
and it's not scary.
It's not planned.
But
Oh, I'm getting ready.
yeah, we want to know something that perhaps no one else might know about Tosca.
my goodness.
It could be anything fun, just something about you, the woman, the person, the wonderful human and soul that you are, that maybe, even though you have so much profile that people don't know, we love to really get real and authentic with our guests. Can you think of anything?
Yes, I'm going to come clean.
Okay,
Great.
good.
I was in the crazy position when I started in this business, in the fitness business, where people would come up to me and lift up my T-shirt and say, are those abs really yours or are they surgical or whatever? And they were always mine. Now I'm getting people coming up to me, pushing my hair aside and going, do you have a facelift? Because you're aging backwards. There's something wrong with you. You're aging in the wrong direction. And I want to come clean. I don't have a facelift. I have had no surgery except to correct a deviated septum, and I didn't even perfect my nose. It's still wonky.
Beautiful nose.
So I'm kind of raw and authentic, and I don't wear makeup every day, and I sweat a lot, and my digestion is perfect, and you know, I'm just a regular gal, and I'm a regular gal just like those who are listening, who wants to be the best I can be, show up every day, and with that knowledge in place and the desire, and I'm here to give that.
Thank
I
you.
want to share it
Bravo.
openly.
Well, what a pleasure, and just the tip of the iceberg. We hope that you'll come back here and let's just do this.
That's
and
a
we've-
given.
I think
Yeah.
we've got sparked a little bit and ignited some
Fire,
special
fire.
things coming your way because we are better together. Todd Miller, what can we say? What a show.
Speechless. I'm going to drink more water
You bet. You bet.
right now.
3 liters a day, you can do it.
So, of course, if you've liked what you've heard here, please share it with your family and friends. And because we really do need to penetrate and get this message out to as many people as possible. Until next time, be well.